12 News, new developments in the school burglary cases. Today, police announce arrests. Plus, plans in Golden Valley to replace the city's aging community center. We'll have an update. But first, state troopers take a different approach to cracking down on distracted driving.
They're meant to be sneaky.
12 News starts right now. Hello and thanks for joining us. Distracted driving continues to take a toll across the state.
And because of that, the Minnesota State Patrol is cracking down on those who can't stay focused on the road. Eric Nelson has more.
It's an epidemic that can have devastating consequences.
It's a major problem.
To discourage distracted driving, the Minnesota State Patrol has come up with a new game plan.
Everybody thinks they're the best driver that's out there, and that's where people are getting in rear-end collisions because they're being distracted.
To combat this growing problem, the State Patrol is adding 5 unmarked cars to its fleet.
Having an unmarked car allows us a better opportunity to really see what's going on behind the wheel and to make sure that people are paying attention.
The goal is to catch unsuspecting drivers texting, surfing the web, or doing anything that takes their focus off the road.
They're meant to be sneaky. We don't want people to necessarily see them, and that's why they're effective toward distracted driving.
So far, the sneaky strategy is paying dividends.
Drivers who have been using their cell phones have kind of just fallen in my lap as something that I didn't see with the marked patrol vehicle.
Minnesota's texting and driving law went into effect in 2008. In that year, 180 drivers were pulled over. This year, already 3,467 have been stopped.
Any reason for our driving conduct today? You were eating your sandwich?
Yeah.
Okay.
Distracted driving is now equated with impaired driving.
Everybody denies it. Nobody wants to admit that they're at fault.
Of course, cell phones are the main culprit. Phone addiction is as real as alcohol addiction.
Absolutely, and that's where we're seeing this poor driving conduct is people can't take their eyes off their phone for 2 minutes.
In Golden Valley, I'm Eric Nelson, Channel 12 News.
In 2014, distracted driving caused 61 deaths and 7,000 injuries in Minnesota.
Brooklyn Park Police have arrested 2 suspects in a series of school burglaries. The arrests come after police released surveillance video and photos Friday that showed 2 men who pried open windows to steal iPads, laptops, and other electronics. The latest burglaries occurred early Friday morning at Crestview Elementary and Sage Academy. Burglaries also occurred at Palmer Lake and Birch Grove Elementary schools. Charges against the 2 suspects are pending.
A Brooklyn Park man is in jail accused of robbing an Anoka County bank with a hammer and a knife. The robbery occurred last Thursday at the Bank of the West in Ramsey. The suspect, Isaac Adu Dankwa, was arrested in his vehicle about a mile north of the bank. He is charged with first-degree aggravated robbery. And according to the criminal complaint, Adu Dankwa confessed to the crime. He told police he knew it was a dumb choice and that he was broke trying to pay for college. In Brooklyn Center, the walls are coming down to make room for a long-awaited redevelopment project. Demolition of the former Brookdale Square shopping center is underway. The 32-acre mall, which is owned by the city's Economic Development Authority, could give way to upscale apartments. The city hopes to finish demolition by the end of the year.
Golden Valley is closer to finalizing plans to replace the nearly 100-year-old Brookview Community Center. And as Delane Cleveland reports, city officials are meeting this week to discuss 3 different proposals.
On this warm November day, it was the perfect time for golfers to get out on the Brookview course in Golden Valley to enjoy a few rounds.
It's a fun golf course. They do a great job keeping this, for a public course, keeping in shape.
That may be true for the course. As for the Brookview Community Center itself, well,
it's a tired building.
Even Parks and Rec Director Rick Burno admits they've had some challenges.
The windows are old windows. When they finally break, we can't fix them anymore. For the most part, they have to be screwed shut. We have floor stability issues now where we have floors starting to sort of, lean one direction or another. We've also outgrown the rooms.
City officials say the center hasn't undergone any major renovations since the mid-'80s. As a result, today the bathrooms aren't up to code and the building isn't compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act.
It's ready for replacement.
However, replacing it is easier said than done. This week, Bruno will present the City Council with 3 options of replacing Brookview at a cost of between $15 and $18 million.
And this is a bit of a downsize recommendation as we look for ways to save money.
The final design and cost will depend on how much space they want to make available for rooms and parking, and whether the new center should have an indoor kids play area. Bottom line, it's up to the City Council to decide.
If they choose an option, and you know, they don't have to choose an option, but certainly it would be their direction on the next steps staff would take, not only on the design or the options available, plus the potential funding plan, which is another area they'll be discussing.
In Golden Valley, Delane Cleveland, 12 News.
Financing options for the community center include either a lease purchase agreement with the Housing and Redevelopment Authority or a bond referendum. Officials estimate the construction would start in the spring of 2018.
The Robbinsdale School District is looking at ways to save money on electricity, and it's no small amount. Keeping the lights on in hundreds of hallways and classrooms is expensive. Robbinsdale schools spend about $1.7 million a year on electricity. Next month, school officials will consider hiring a consultant to help them save more than $3 million over the next 15 years. It includes upgrading fluorescent lighting fixtures to LED.
If we talk about some numbers of savings, and we'll be measuring those on an annual basis, the savings isn't there. The way it works under the laws, the contractor would pay us back. So we're essentially guaranteed those savings.
The plan includes being part of a solar garden run by Xcel Energy. School officials say there would be no out-of-pocket expenses for that, and that alone would save about $130,000 a year. Well, coming up, a new law that helps recycle old paint and, in turn, help business.
And then later in sports, highlights from a nail-biter in the Class 6A football playoffs.
But first, a quiet Tuesday weather-wise. There will be plenty of sunshine. This month marks 1 year since Minnesota passed a law that makes it easier to recycle unwanted paint.
In this week's Business Matters, an Osseo paint store has found the program is good for its business.
We have a full spectrum of colors. If you can imagine it, I think we can create it.
For more than 60 years, this spot in downtown Osseo has been the place for locals to buy paint. With ties to the original 1920s Savitt Brothers paint store in Minneapolis, Osseo's Savitt Paint has a range of customers.
We have a lot of residents that come in, people that are coming through town, Maple Grove, Champlin. We also have a lot of business, commercial customers in Minneapolis.
That customer base is expanding and business is up, thanks in part to a 1-year-old paint recycling program that's introducing new customers to this store.
So we can accept old paint, discontinued paint, just unused paint, and there's no charge to drop that off.
This box shows how much paint has been dropped off in the past 2 weeks at this store, and it's ready to be collected for recycling.
Most of it's just, typical interior, exterior, residential paint. Some of it's industrial. We do take some polyurethane and shellac and varnishes and things like that as well, but mostly paints.
Minnesota is one of 8 states participating in the paint recycling program, geared to keep old paint out of the landfill. Nonprofit Paint Care manages the program, and a 75-cent fee is added to the receipt of every gallon of paint sold. Since last November, more than 750,000 gallons of paint have been recycled in Minnesota, and 184 independent paint stores and paint manufacturers serve as a free drop-off site.
There's many more places where people can drop off their paint whenever they want to during the week. They have regular business hours, and it basically makes it much more convenient. And they also accept paint from businesses.
As people discover this Osseo paint store as a drop-off site, store co-owner Daniel Spanier also sees a nice rise in business.
And quite often they either stop back or they leave with some additional paint.
Still ahead, she looks like an angel and plays trumpet like a red-hot devil.
That's how one music critic describes Bria Skonberg, and you'll meet her coming up. But first, in sports, the race is on at the state cross-country meet. John Jacobson has the highlights next. John Jacobson with sports now. We start with cross country, and for runners, they may like it actually a little colder than it's been.
A little
lately.
colder than maybe it was on Saturday, but still, we had a lot of good performances down at Northfield. The top distance runners in Minnesota assembled Saturday in Northfield for the state cross country meet. It was a good day for many local athletes. The girls were off first at St. Olaf College in the AA race. Bethany Hans of Alexandria, the state champion, at the time of 17 minutes, 32.2 seconds. Her twin sister Megan isn't far behind. She takes second place. Our top local finishers, Hopkins' Renee Anderson in 22nd place, Wayzetta's Michaela Keller-Miller in 23rd place. On to the boys' race. Hopkins bidding for its first state championship since 2002. Wayzetta's Jared Carpenter sprints to the state title, though. He wins in 15 minutes, 26.5 seconds. Seth Eliason of Hopkins outkicks Maple Grove's Alex Miley. Here, this gains 6th place. Miley is 7th. Owen Hafe takes 10th place for the Royals. They place 5 runners in the top 12 among the team competitors. Hopkins races to the AA championship with 34 team points, well ahead of runner-up Washburn. Stillwater is 3rd and Bemidji 4th. 4 local runners placed in the top 10, led by Carpenter of Wayzetta. Edina wins the school's 157th team championship, but it's the first in cross country. The Hornets are followed by Marshall, Wilmer, and Wayzetta in the AA girls. 2 local runners place in the top 25. Rex Morgan Richter placed 2nd in the Class A girls race. Maple Grove reached the state semifinals in prep football a year ago and lost to Eden Prairie in the semifinals. This season, the Crimson were looking to make it a trip to the championship game. The Crimson facing Eastridge in the 6A semis, the winner to play Osseo in the Prep Bowl. Early second quarter, Eastridge running back Connor Mose into the end zone for a touchdown. He rushed for 101 yards in the game. Raptors lead 10-0. Down 17-0 late in the second quarter, Brad Davison throws to Will Rule, 5 yards for a touchdown. It's 17-6 Eastridge at the half. Early in the second half, Davison throws to Isaac Collins, who beats the lone defender on that side of the field, and he races 80 yards for a touchdown. The Crimson are within 5 at 17-12. Late in the third quarter, Davison keeps it and runs it in from 4 yards out. Maple Grove hits on a 2-point conversion, and the Crimson are up 20-17. Eastridge answers in the fourth quarter. Dominic London goes 16 yards for a touchdown here. 175 yards rushing for London in the game. Raptors are back in front 24-20. Same score, game's final play. The Crimson backed up at their own 22-yard line. Davison on the run, throws it up. And Jared Martinson comes down with a great catch inside the Eastridge 35-yard line. Breaks into the open briefly, running toward the end zone before being tackled from behind at the 11-yard line. Game is over. Maple Grove loses 24-20. Osseo and Eastridge play for the Class 6A title in the Prep Bowl. That game is scheduled to kick off at 7 o'clock Friday night at TCF Bank Stadium. We'll have more on the Orioles' preparations for that game later this week on 12 News. In girls hockey, Maple Grove has a new head coach this season. Former Wayzetta head coach and Armstrong Cooper assistant Amber Hagelin takes over. Hagelin and the Crimson hosting Edina in a matchup of top 10 preseason teams. Sophie Slattery slipping a pass to Emily Oden for the backhand goal. And it's 1-0 Hornets. On a power play, Grace Bowlby shoots. Melita Fiddler knocks the rebound in. Hornets take a 2-0 lead to the first intermission. Second period, Taylor Wente sets up Katie Denicky for the shot and goal. And Maple Grove's within a goal at 2-1. Just over a minute later, though, Slattery takes a pass in the circle and snaps a shot home to restore a 2-goal lead. And it's 3-1 Edina. Later in the second, Fiddler on the forecheck frees it up and comes out of the corner to score. Edina spoils Maple Grove's season opener with a 4-1 win. And the start of boys basketball and boys hockey practice today.
Here we go, right?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, John. Up next, Champlain Park students learn jazz from a pro.
An acclaimed jazz artist pushes kids to find their own melody. We'll be right back. Well, coming up here Tuesday at 4, our interview with retiring Plymouth Fire Chief Richard Kline. He's been with the department for more than 20 years.
The vast majority of firefighters are very humble, and that's just what we do. You know, deep inside, it's a reassurance that we're doing the right thing.
Hear why Chief Kline says firefighting is the best job in the world. Plus, we'll tell you how the fire chief is sharing a unique hobby with people with disabilities. That's Tuesday here on Channel 12 beginning at 4. Well, finally, following in the footsteps of jazz legend Louis Armstrong.
Armstrong has inspired modern-day jazz artists like Bria Skonberg, who was in town this weekend to perform at the North Hennepin Jazz Festival.
Yeah, while in Brooklyn Park, Skonberg also gave Champlin Park students a unique lesson. And photojournalist Dustin Scholl was there.
Today we're having Bria Skonberg in to do some clinics with a couple of high school groups. She's an amazing trumpet player out of New York. She's got about 4 CDs out.
It's just gotta feel good.
I think one of the things that Bria really focused on today was improvisation.
It's all based around this relationship.
There's really no such thing as perfection in music. What Bria is really good at is helping to give people permission to be in that moment and do the best you can at the time.
He just kind of put 2 and 2 together that I love education and I love performing, and it would be easy for me to come in and work with the band. When you're playing with people, it's just like it's another language. Talking to these students is one thing, but by listening to them play, I also get a sense of their personalities and who they are.
Jazz is about being able to get in touch with what you're feeling at any moment and being able to express that through your instrument.
Getting a second opinion on something just really helps you improve as a group. I've learned a lot through this experience. We would have some issues with, first of all, tempo, staying together, and overall tone and how we blended.
They're willing to take her direction, they're listening, they're focusing on what's being shared at the time.
That's going C, F, C, F.
Bringing some of the high schoolers onto campus here, they get a chance to see what it's like in a college environment. And we've been on this corner here at 85th and Broadway for 50 years, and North Hennepin has a viable music community.
I mean, these kids today, they didn't give me too much to pick apart. They were really good. Yeah, it was really, really fun.
What an incredible opportunity to work with someone of that caliber.
And high praise there.
Yeah,
Not too much to pick apart.
Gotta feel good about
guys.
that.
Yeah.
That does it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Community Corner is coming up next, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow, beginning at 4.